Welcome Gold delegates from around the world. I'm Fleur Bickford, Program Director and MC for Gold Midwifery. I'm here today talking with Gail Tully, and we are chatting about her upcoming presentation titled Engaging the Inlet, Labor Onset Beyond Cervical Ripeness, Supporting a Smooth Start of Labor Through the Spinning Babies Approach. So Gail, welcome, and we are so excited to have you with us today.
Thank you, Fleur. I'm so glad to be with you all.
Wonderful. So before we talk a little bit about your upcoming presentation, I'm wondering if we can talk about you a little bit. I know our delegates love to hear about our speakers, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional journey and what drove you to become a midwife.
I grew up in the Midwest of the United States and was a very young mother. And I was actually 16 when I got pregnant, and my older sister handed me Ina May Gaskin's wonderful Spiritual Midwifery book. In it, it told the stories of how several women became midwives, and one of the midwives had a dream about swimming out into the ocean to save babies that were coming into shore. And I had this flash of the experience of birth from the baby's perspective, and I wanted to be one of the people welcoming babies that was conscious about their awareness, that their experience is something they carry with them through life, whether they can articulate it or not. And that brought me into midwifery. I enjoyed my pregnancy and birth at 17 with nurse midwives in my county hospital. And I went on to help other mothers. Women would come to me because I was calm and ask me to be at their birth. And I really learned quite a bit from the mothers that I helped, from the nurses, the midwives, and the childbirth educators. And I went to college for a while to become a nurse midwife. I realized that I wanted a different type of relationship with birthing women, so I became a home birth midwife. And the CPM letters after my name stand for Certified Professional Midwife, which is a certification program formed by midwives for midwives in North America. And that's how I became a midwife. I went to midwives and asked for education and asked to serve them, and they took me along to birth. So I learned through the apprenticeship model. And I had some unique observations and unique spatial understanding of the babies in the womb, and that led me on to spinning babies.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. It's fascinating to hear how people come to the professions that they're in. So in your bio, you refer to yourself as a spinning babies lady. And of course, you're well known for your work and your website, which is spinningbabies.com. But for those of our delegates who may not be familiar with it yet, tell us a little bit about what Spinning Babies is all about.
Spinning babies refers to the baby's role in birth. The baby rotates through the pelvis, often starting to face the mother's right thigh. So the baby's back is often at the mother's left as the baby enters the pelvis at the top in the brim of the pelvis or the inlet of the pelvis. And then as the baby comes down onto the pelvic floor, which is like a buttonhole through the center of the pelvis, the baby rotates there to get into the oblique diameter or a diagonal. And as the baby comes down to the third level, the outlet, the baby turns to face the mother's back. So this rotating is how the baby finds the space in the pelvis and fits out through the pelvis. There's a lot of maternal anatomy along the way. I mentioned the pelvic floor. Up at the top are round ligaments and the sacral promontory, the psoas muscle, and such as that, affecting how the baby gets into the pelvis. In the mid-pelvis are two little bumps inside the pelvis called the ischial spines, and then there's the pelvic floor. There's a lot of room in the back as long as the sacrum's mobile. And then at the bottom are the two sits bones, like two guards along the way to the side. And their mobility and ability to move open for the baby also depends on the whole pelvic mobility, the tailbone being able to swing out away from the baby, and obviously more of the pelvic floor as the baby comes out the outlet in the perineum. So as we help the mother find ease of space, flexibility, mobility, suppleness in her pelvis, then we're helping the baby to rotate. I often say mother's job is to dilate, baby's job is to rotate. If we can help the baby's job be easier, we help the mother's job be easier in birth too. So that's what Spinning Babies is all about, what women can do themselves and what providers can know and do to help birth be easier for mother and baby. So their bonding, their skin to skin time, their breastfeeding, all of those wonderful things of getting to know your baby are more intact, more accessible to the mother because her labor was a little more straightforward.
Okay, thank you so much, Gail. That all sounds wonderful. So as we finish up here, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about what you hope delegates will take away from your presentation and be able to take back to their own practices.
You know, your wonderful listeners, your delegates, are women and men that are interested in helping the birth process. And there is a view, a perspective of birth that we've had in our world for the last 100 or 200 years. And what I'm introducing is a new way of looking at birth. The reason I called my talk Engaging the Inlet, Labor Onset Beyond Cervical Ripeness is because we often look at the cervix to say how ready is the woman for labor or how is the labor progressing. And I would like to introduce a better understanding of where is the baby in the pelvis and how do we make room at that level. So I'm going to give new tools, new understanding about the onset of labor, about the baby getting into the pelvis. That's really going to help the provider that's so passionate about helping women have more tools, more understanding, because not getting into the pelvis is one of the leading causes for cesarean. And there are some moves that women can make and some releases that providers can help with that can really change that story for so many women. Not for everybody, of course, but for so many more women than are experiencing an easy birth today.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. And I know I am really looking forward to learning more and listening to your presentation. So for our delegates who are listening to us today, you can hear more from Gail and her presentation titled Engaging the Inlet, Labor Onset Beyond Cervical Ripeness on March 1st at 1800 UTC. So we look forward to seeing you online then. Thank you for joining us and goodbye for now, everyone.